At the end of my lecture, you will be able to understand the basic principle of electronic spectroscopy, and also you will be able to explain the important terminology and different types of electronic transitions, and you will be able to understand the factors which affects the position and intensity of UV visible spectra, and you will be able to solve the problems in competitive examinations on UV visible spectroscopy. So, the understanding of light and color begins in the era of Isaac Newton. So, in 1666, so he discovered the sunlight contains a variety of spectrum. He in fact resolved into its component into various colors. So, he coined the word spectrum. So, spectroscopy is nothing but the study of interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. So, what happens when a molecule or when an object absorbs the electromagnetic radiation? So, that is a spectroscopy. Then, what do you mean by electromagnetic radiation? So, it is nothing but any form of radiant energy that is propagated as a transverse wave. So, what do you mean by transverse? It means at right angles to the direction of wave traveling. For example, if the wave is going from left to right, the transverse direction is up and down. So it vibrates perpendicular to the direction of propagation. So the name itself tells us it possesses both electric and magnetic field. So this is electromagnetic radiation. So here, so both electrical and magnetic field, they are perpendicular to each other. So the distance between two maxima or two minima is called wavelength. The symbol is a lambda. So the electromagnetic radiation possesses certain amount of energy in the form of photon. So that is an indivisible unit of radiation. It can be related with the frequency or wavelength. So this is Einstein-Planck equation. E is equal to h nu. So nu is the frequency. It can be further related with the velocity of light and wavelength. Here, so energy is inversely proportional to the wavelength. So this is electromagnetic spectrum starting from gamma rays, X-rays, UV visible, IR, and radio waves. So from left to right, the wavelength increases. So as we have seen in the last slide, the wavelength is inversely proportional to energy, and hence the energy decreases. So in the electromagnetic spectrum, radio waves have a longer wavelength and gamma rays have shorter wavelength. So what happens when a photon hits a molecule, the molecule absorbs some amount of energy and the molecule is promoted to a higher excited state. So it promotes electrons from HOMO to LUMO. So HOMO means the highest occupied molecular orbital, to LUMO, lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. So the energy gap between HOMO and LUMO is called band gap. So in the case of ethylene, so pi to pi star electron transition takes place. Here the HOMO is the electron in a HOMO. So when the ethylene molecule absorbs a proton, one of the electrons from pi orbital goes to the pi star antibonding orbital. So in the case of butadiene, there are psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4. Here psi 1, psi 2, so bonding orbital, psi 3, psi 4, and antibonding orbital. So this is HOMO. Psi 2 is HOMO. When photon absorbs one of the electrons from psi 2, it goes to the psi 3, that is antibonding. So the another name of UV visible spectroscopy is called electronic spectroscopy, since it involves the promotion of electrons, that is a sigma or pi electrons or non-bonded electrons from the ground state, that is the lowest state, to the higher excited state. So the regions of UV visible spectroscopy, so it starts from 10 nanometer to 380 nanometer. So 10 to 200 nanometer is known as a far or a vacuum UV, since it absorbs molecular oxygen in that region. So 200 to 380 nanometer is known as a near or quartz UV. So the visible region starts from 380 nanometer to 780 nanometer. So further, the UV region can be further classified into UVA, UVB, and UVC, depends on the wavelength. Among these three radiations, UVC radiation is highly dangerous. In fact, it has been trapped and filtered by the stratosphere in presence of ozone. So UVB radiation, so almost 95% of UVB radiation has been absorbed by the Earth atmosphere. So only it reaches the Earth's surface, only 5 to 6%. So we are going to see what happens when the ultraviolet radiation affects our skin. So the instrumentation. So the source of UV visible for UV range, hydrogen or deuterium lamp is usually employed. For visible region, tungsten lamp has been used. So the filter. So there are two types of filters are available in a UV spectrophotometer. One is absorptive filter, another one is dichroic filters. So the another important element in UV spectrophotometer is monochromator. So in Greek, mono means single, chroma means it's a color. It produces a beam of light with a very narrow bandwidth. It allows only a particular wavelength. So another important thing is sample cell, that is cuvette. So it is made up of quartz indoor because glass is not usually transparent to ultraviolet radiation. It may absorb some amount of radiations from the UV visible light. Hence, the quartz is made up of, so the cuvette is made up of quartz. The detectors, the common detectors are photo tube or photo multi-tube and silicon diode array or CCD, the charged coupled device, it may be employed. So, but the most common is a photo multiplier tube. It is based on the principle of a photoelectric effect. See, so here the deuterium lamp and tungsten lamp is actually the source. It passes through the filter to the monochromator. So the role of monochromator is it allows only a single wavelength, and it hits the beam splitter. It split into two half. So one beam is passed to the reference, another beam is passed through the sample here. So after passing through the reference and sample, it passes through the photodetectors or photodiode. Here in reference, so normally the solvent in which we are preparing the solution is taken. So here the intensity of incident radiation, that is I0 is 100 because no absorption has been taken place, but in the sample the absorption has been taken place, then it is processed and finally we get the spectra. So electronic excitations. So what happens when molecule absorbs photon? So there are different orbitals, sigma and pi. There is in bonding orbitals. Then n non-bonded or shared, unshared pair of electrons or lone pair of electrons here. Then anti-bonding sigma star and pi star. See here. So in this diagram, we could be able to see the electronic excitation of sigma to sigma star requires higher energy because it is in the larger energy gap. So the smallest energy gap between n to pi star transition. So the increasing energy order of electron excitation, so sigma to sigma star transition requires higher energy. So this is very, very important as far as the competitive exam is concerned. So the lowest energy required for n to pi star transition, the energy is required minimum. So the example, so alkanes, in the case of alkanes, it contains only sigma bonds. So it will undergo sigma to sigma star transition. In the case of heteroatom like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, it will have a lone pair of electrons, that is a non-bonded electrons. Then it will undergo n to sigma star transition. But in the case of alkenes, alkynes, aromatic rings, there will be a pi to pi star transition. But in the case of carbonyl compounds, so it has a lone pair of electrons are there, pi electrons are there, then it will undergo n to pi star transition. So normally carbonyl compounds will undergo both n to pi star transition and pi to pi star transition, but n to pi star transition requires lesser energy. So the normally n to pi star transition for carbonyl compounds like aldehyde and ketone will appear between 270 and 300 nanometer. This range is very, very important. Then absorption maximum for common solvents. So I have given the list of common solvents and their absorption maxima. So Lambert law. So Johann Heinrich Lambert, he states that so when a monochromatic light passes through a solution, the rate of decrease of intensity of radiation or absorbance is directly proportional to thickness of a path length. So according to Lambert, so absorbance is directly proportional to path length of a cell. Here I0 is the intensity of incident light. Here I0 value is 100 because no radiation has been absorbed. So before passing through the cell, I0 is 100. After passing through the cell, some sort of radiation will be absorbed by the absorbing species present in the solution. Then some will be transmitted. Suppose I0 is 100, then 10% of light will be absorbed by the solution. The IT, that is a transmitted light, will be 90%. Beer law. So nearly after 100 years, August Beer, he states, so when a monochromatic light passes through a solution, the decrease of intensity of radiation or absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of solution. But Lambert, according to Lambert, he didn't consider the concentration of a solution. He mentioned only the path length of a cell. But nearly after 100 years, Beer states that the absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of a solution as well. So it's a combined law, Beer-Lambert law. So when a monochromatic light passes through a solution, the absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of a solution and path length of a cell. So this is a mathematical representation of a Beer-Lambert law. A is equal to log of I0 by IT is equal to epsilon CL. Here, A means absorbance. So I0 is the intensity of incident light. IT, the intensity of a transmitted light. Epsilon is molar absorptivity or a molar extinction coefficient. C is the concentration of a solution. L is the path length of a cell. So there will be a linearity between absorbance and concentrations. So when there is a deviation, so there are limitations of Beer-Lambert law. So it is applicable only in the presence of monochromatic light. If it is polychromatic light, then Beer-Lambert law will not obey. And also it is applicable only for dilute solution. It is not applicable for solutions of higher concentration. So what happens in higher concentrations? So there will be some electrostatic interaction between solute molecules when there is in close proximity. And also the scattering of light due to particulates in the sample, then a change in the refractive index of a medium will not obey the Beer-Lambert law. And also the fluorescence or phosphorescence of the sample, and if there is any tautomerism between the absorbing molecules, like a keto-inert tautomerism, then Beer-Lambert law will not obey. And also the important thing is when association or dissociation of a solute and solvent, they will form complexes. Then the Beer-Lambert law will not obey. These limitations are very, very important because so many questions have been asked in CSIR and GATE examinations. Then important terminologies in UV visible spectroscopy. So chromophore, oxochrome, bathochromic shift or red shift, hypsochromic shift or blue shift, hyperchromic shift, and hypochromic shift. So I'm going to discuss one by one. So what do you mean by chromophore? So in Greek word, chroma means color, phore means bearing. So what happens? It is a part of the molecule. When exposed to visible light, it will absorb some sort of radiation and reflect a certain color. This is responsible for a color of a compound. For example, if a compound is color, then there might be the presence of chromophore. The essential criteria for chromophore, it contains one or more unsaturated group. There might be some carbon-carbon double bond or a carbon double bond N cyanide or carbonyl group or a azo bond N double bond N should be there. These are all the examples of chromophore. So I have given the list of chromophores and the corresponding lambda max value, lambda max, that is absorption maxima for the chromophores. Then oxochromes. So oxo means increase. So it is a functional group. When attached with the chromophore, it changes both wavelength and intensity of absorption. So one thing is very important here. So an oxochrome does not itself absorb any radiation. It will enhance only the, in the presence of chromophore, it alters whether it may be decrease or increase the absorption maxima and intensity of absorption. So these possess lone pair of electrons or unshared pair of electrons or non-bonded electrons that can interact with pi electrons in the chromophore. So as I said earlier, chromophores contains carbon-carbon double bond. There will be some pi electrons. Here, oxochromes contains lone pair of electrons, non-bonded electrons. So there might be some n-pi conjugation so that it will enhance the lambda max value and also the intensity of absorption will be enhanced. So again, I'm repeating the one point here. An oxochrome does not itself absorb any radiation. It will enhance only in the presence of chromophore. So I'm going to discuss with examples. So the example for oxochromes, that is amine, NH2 groups, or hydroxyl groups, or alkoxy groups, or thiol, etc. Here, benzene, the absorption maximum for benzene is 255 nanometer. So when there is a presence of hydroxy group in the phenol, so the OH will enhance the absorption maxima from 255 nanometer to 270 nanometer. In the case of phenoxide ion, it will also enhance the redshift. Then aniline, here also the lambda max value is enhanced from 255 nanometer to 280 nanometer when there is presence of amine groups. Here, so OH hydroxy group, amine groups are called oxochrome. Then the benzene nucleus, the benzene moiety is known as chromophore. So we should not confuse with chromophore and oxochrome. Here, so this is mordant yellow. This is an organic azo dye. Do you identify which is a chromophore part, which is an oxochrome part? So N double bond N, azo, that is a chromophore, and sulfonate and the hydroxy group is an oxochrome. Here, so this is anthraquinone dye. So the this is blue in color. So the color responsible for this dye is an anthraquinone moiety. So there is a chromophore, then oxochrome is amine and sulfonate. So the various shifts in UV visible spectroscopy. Suppose if the presence of chromophore oxochrome, what will happen? The absorption intensity may increase or decrease, or the lambda max value will increase or decrease. If the absorption intensity is increased in the presence of chromophore and oxochrome, then it is called hyperchromic shift. There is an increase in absorption intensity. So if suppose the absorption intensity is decreased, then it is known as hypochromic shift. If the lambda max value, that is absorption maxima, is shifted to a longer wavelength, so from 400 to 600 or 780 nanometer, then it is known as a bathochromic shift or red shift. There is an increase in wavelength. So if it decreases from 400 to 300 or 200 or 100 nanometer, then it is known as hypsochromic shift, that is called a blue shift. So what are the factors which affect the position of UV bands? So there are important factors are there. So the conjugation, the steric hindrance, the solvent, and pH will affect the position of UV bands. So now I'm going to discuss one by one with examples. So the effect of conjugations. So what happens to the conjugations? As the conjugation increases, the energy required for the promotion of electrons decreases, and hence the lambda max value will increase. So the conjugation is directly proportional to the absorption maxima. So we know the equation E is equal to h nu. So energy is inversely proportional to lambda, that is a wavelength. Energy is inversely proportional to wavelength. See, so here ethylene, butadiene, hexadiene. So from left to right, the conjugation has increased. So as the conjugation increases, what happens? So the energy gap between HOMO and LUMO decreases. Here, the larger energy gap in ethylene, in butadiene, the energy gap has been decreased. In hexadiene, the energy gap between HOMO and LUMO is further decreased. So energy, as I said earlier, energy is inversely proportional to wavelength. The energy decreases, the lambda max value will increase. So this is a list of examples. So as the conjugation increases, the lambda max value is also increases. So we should not confuse with only in the presence of double bond. So conjugation means alternative single and double bond. So if there is no conjugation, but it has more number of carbon-carbon double bonds, then it will not deal with any increase in the absorption maxima. Then, so conjugated and non-conjugated system. See here, so this is a non-conjugated system. The pi to pi star energy gap is maximum. When there is a conjugation, the pi to pi star energy gap has been decreased, and hence the lambda max value is increased. See, so the acetone has a N2 pi star transition and pi to pi star transition. So this is a methyl vinyl ketone, that is alpha beta unsaturated ketone. There is a redshift. So 274 nanometer to 334 nanometer for N2 pi star transition, and 195 nanometer to 203 nanometer for pi to pi star transition. That is due to the presence of unsaturation. That is alpha beta unsaturation. There is a conjugation is there. Then effect of steric hindrance. So what happens if there is a steric effect? So consider the example of cis-stilbene and trans-stilbene. So which is more steric hindrance? Yeah, we know the cis-stilbene is more sterically hindrance. So here, what types of electronic transition are possible? Here it contains no non-bonded electrons. It contains only sigma bond. There is a carbon hydrogen sigma bond is there, and carbon carbon double bond is there. Vinyl ring is there. So pi to pi star transition will be possible. See, for effective overlapping for a pi to pi star transition, coplanarity is essential for most effective overlapping. So coplanarity. So, but in the case of cis-stilbene, due to steric crowding, because the bulky groups, that is, phenyl groups are present on the same side of double bond, then planar geometry is distorted in cis-stilbene. But in the case of trans-stilbene, it is more effective pi-pi orbital overlapping, which results in achieving the coplanarity of pi system. And hence, trans-stilbene appears in longer wavelength and cis-stilbene appears at shorter wavelength. In fact, the lambda max value for trans-stilbene is 295 nanometer. For cis-stilbene, the lambda max value is 280 nanometer. So, effect of solvents. What happens when it is when UV spectra is recorded in a polar solvent and non-polar solvent? In polar solvent, so pi to pi star transition favors redshift. There is increase in lambda max value, that is due to the stabilization of excited state by dipole-dipole solvent interaction. What happens to the N to pi star transition? So there is a blue shift. There is a decrease in lambda max value, that is due to the stabilization of ground state by strong hydrogen bonding. So this is just opposite to non-polar solvent. Here non-polar solvent, pi to pi star transition favors blue shift, N to pi star transition favors red shift. See, this is polar solvent, so the ground state stabilization is more, and hence the energy gap between N to pi star transition is maximum. So energy is maximum, the lambda max will be minimum. This is the case of non-polar solvent. So this is the excited state has been stabilized by the solvent interaction. So the energy gap is minimum, so lambda max will be maximum. Hence there is a redshift in non-polar solvent for N to pi star transition. So this is the stabilization due to hydrogen bonding for polar solvent, as we discussed before. So consider the example of acetone. So here the lambda max value for acetone, so theoretically is 274 nanometer. So what happens when there is a presence of a polar solvent? So in polar solvent, N to pi star transition, as I said earlier, it is a blue shift. So from 274 nanometer, there is a blue shift. There is a 264 nanometer lambda max for N to pi star transition of acetone. So in the case of non-polar solvent like hexane, what happens? Non-polar solvent favors a red shift, N to pi star. So from 274 nanometer to 279 nanometer. This is the effect of solvent. Then effect of pH. See, so this is a phenol. In the presence of base, it abstracts a proton, then formation of phenoxide ion. So phenol is acidic in nature, phenoxide ion is a conjugate base. So in phenoxide ion, so the lone pair on oxygen atom is delocalized over the pi system of the aromatic system. So aromatic ring, so thereby increases the conjugation. Here in phenol, there's much lesser conjugation, but in the case of phenoxide ion, the conjugation is maximum. Hence, the conjugation increases, the absorption maximum shifted to a longer wavelength, that is redshift. It will not affect only the lambda max value, but also it affects the intensity of absorption. Here, so the lambda max value for phenol is 210 and 270 nanometer. There is in basic medium, there is an increase in conjugation, so there is a redshift, 210 nanometer to 235 nanometer and 270 nanometer to 287 nanometer. The another example is aniline. Here aniline is Lewis base because it is an electron pair donor. When it is protonated with acid, it forms anilinium ion. So what happens in acidic medium? Aromatic amines gets protonated, which affects the conjugation. So here there is no conjugation over in anilinium ion because it has been inhibited by the presence of NH3 plus. So as a result, what happens? There is a blue shift. There is shifted to a longer wavelength. So for aniline, the lambda max value is 235 nanometer and 285 nanometer. In anilinium ion, there is a blue shift. The lambda max value is decreased to 203 and 254 nanometer. So this is effect of pH. Then Woodward-Fisher rule for the calculation of absorption maxima. So in 1945, so Woodward gave certain rules for the calculations of absorption maxima of an organic compound. So in fact, he is the Nobel laureate. So he got Nobel Prize in 1965 for the outstanding achievements in the art of organic synthesis. In early 1940s, say he synthesized many complex natural products, including quinine, cholesterol, cortisone, reserpine, chlorophyll, lysergic acid, etc. So his time is called the Woodwardian era. So that much contribution to the organic synthesis he made. In 1959, Fischer modified these rules with more experimental data. So he is Louis Frederick Fischer. So we should not confuse with Emil Fischer, so the carbohydrate chemist, natural products chemist. So he is Louis Frederick Fischer. So he is known for the synthesis of blood clotting agent, vitamin K. So one of his notable student is Donald J. Cram. So we might have heard of Cram's role in stereochemistry. So he is a student of Fischer. So Woodward-Fisher rule is to calculate the lambda max by relating the position and degree of chromophores. So for unsaturated hydrocarbons, the parent acyclic diene, so the parent value is 270 nanometer. For a parent heteronolar diene, 250 nanometer. Parent homonolar means 253 nanometers. If there is any alkyl groups or ring residue, there is increment of plus 5. If it is there exocyclic double bond, then increment of plus 5 nanometer. There is any double bond extending conjugation, then increment of plus 30. So this is acyclic diene. So this is exocyclic double bonds. So exocyclic means so the outside the ring of so this is outside of the ring. So endo means it's inside the ring. Here ring residue or alkyl substituents. So this is ring residue. This is alkyl substituents. And double bond extending conjugation. So as I said earlier, conjugation means alternative double bond and single bond. See, so this is a conjugation. If it exceeds more than this, that is a double bond, single bond, double bond. If it exceeds more than, that is a extending conjugation. So in this given compound, there is two double bond extending conjugation. So here one, so this is two double bond extending conjugation is there. Then homonolar diene. So diene, if it is present inside only one ring, it is called homonolar diene. If it present in two different rings, then it is known as a heteronolar diene. So for alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compounds, for parent acyclic, the base value is 250 nanometer. So if it is 6-member ring, then also the value is 215 nanometer. If it is 5-membered cyclic alpha beta unsaturated ketone, the value is 202 nanometer. If it is parent alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde, then the value is 207 nanometer. The increment for double bond extending conjugation, as I said earlier, there's a 30 nanometer. The another important thing in enone and dienone is the position of the substituents. If it is there in alpha position, the increment of plus 10. If it is in beta position, the increment of plus 12. If it is in gamma position, then increment of plus 18 nanometer. So all gamma and above 18 nanometer. So now I'm going to explain with examples. See, this is a compound given. So calculate the lambda max for the given compound using Woodward-Fisher rule. See, so this is the base value we have to calculate. So this is acyclic diene. Then we have to look into whether is there any alkyl substituents. See, so there are two alkyl substituents here. So this one and this one. So the parent value is 270 nanometer. So there are two alkyl substituents. So 2 into 5, 10 nanometer. Then lambda max value is 227 nanometer. There are no exocyclic double bond is not there. Then another example here. So this is also acyclic diene. We should not consider this cyclic. So the conjugation is in only acyclic. So we have to look into any alkyl substituents or ring residues there. See, so this is a ring residue. So two ring residues are there. We have to consider exocyclic double bond. So sitting inside this ring, see, this is exocyclic double bond. So one exocyclic double bond. So parent value is base value 270 nanometer. Ring residues, there are two ring residues, so 2 into 5, 10 nanometer. Exocyclic double bond. So 1 into 5 nanometer. So lambda max is 232 nanometer for the given compound. See, this is another example. Here, there are two rings. So we have to consider the ring substituents or ring residues. So starting from the conjugation here, so here there is one ring residue, another in ring B there is two ring residue. So there are four ring residues. See, exocyclic double bonds. So see, sitting inside the ring A, there is one exocyclic. Sitting inside the ring B, see, this is another exocyclic. So there are two exocyclic double bonds. So 2 into 5, 10 nanometer. The calculated lambda max value is 247 nanometer. So another example. So this is not acyclic diene. So this is a cyclic one. If it is cyclic, we have to look into two things, whether it is homoannular diene or heteroannular diene. So homoannular diene means the conjugation is present in only one ring. Here, the conjugation is in two different rings. Hence, it is a heteroannular diene. Then we have to consider the ring residues. So ring residues starting from conjugation here. So this is one ring residue here, here. So there is another ring residue and another ring residue. 3 ring residues are there. So we should not bother about other substituents. Here there are angular methyl groups are there, methyl groups are there. We should not worry about this because the conjugation has finished here itself. So we have to consider up to this only. So exocyclic double bonds. See, inside the ring, for ring A, there is one exocyclic double bond. For ring B, there is no exocyclic. So we should not consider this as an exocyclic. Exocyclic means this conjugation is in connection with that ring. So there is only one exocyclic double bond. So the lambda max value is 234 nanometer. So this is alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compounds. See, so in alpha beta unsaturation means we have to consider the substituents. The parent value is 250 nanometer. If it is substituents, so alpha substitution is there. So alpha substitution means we have to give increment of plus 10 nanometer. Then beta position. So in beta position, there are two ring residues. So 2 into 12. As I said earlier, for alpha substitutions, the increment is plus 10, for beta plus 12, then gamma and delta above plus 18 nanometer. Then we have to look whether there is an exocyclic double bond. So the important thing here. So sitting inside the ring A, there is exocyclic double bond, and for this ring there is one exocyclic. So we should not misinterpret here. Only one exocyclic double bond is there. It is not so. For ring A, see, for ring A, there is one exocyclic. For ring B, there is exocyclic. So, two exocyclic double bonds are there. So, 2 into 5, 10 nanometer. Whether it is there any external double bond extending conjugation? No, there is no extending conjugation. So, the lambda max value is 259 nanometer. So, the another example. So, this is also cyclic diene, whether it is homoannular or heteroannular. So, this is homoannular diene because the conjugation is present inside only one ring. Then alkyl substituents. So starting from here, so there is one alkyl substituents, here another substituents, here another alkyl substituents. So there are 3 alkyl substituents. So the homoannular diene, the base value is 253 nanometer. There are 3 ring residues, so 3 into 5, 15 nanometer. Exocyclic double bonds. So we have to consider. See, so for ring A, there is no exocyclic double bond. For ring B, there is one exocyclic double bond. So the lambda max value is 273 nanometer. See, another example here. So whether it is a homoannular or heteroannular. So we should not consider this is heteroannular because there is a conjugation in 2 different rings. It is not so. It is a homoannular diene. So because the conjugation is present in the only one ring, and there is also one extending conjugation. So the double bond, single bond, double bond. This is conjugation. So this is another extending conjugation. So we have to add the increment for that also. Then ring residues. See, so this is one ring residues. So the parent value is 253 nanometer. So double bond extending conjugation. So we have to give increment of 30 nanometer. Then ring residues. See, 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 ring residues. So 3 into 5, 50 nanometer. So we should not consider this angular methyl groups. For example, we can calculate the exocyclic double bonds for ring C. There is no exocyclic double bond for ring C. If it is more than one ring, we have to consider each ring whether there exists some exocyclic double bond or not. So for ring A, there is no exocyclic double bond. For ring B, there is one exocyclic double bond. Ring C, there is no exocyclic double bond. Ring D, there is no exocyclic double bond because conjugation has finished here itself. So the lambda max value is 303 nanometer. Then applications of UV visible spectroscopy. So we can study the extent of conjugation using UV visible spectroscopy. So from this UV spectra, so for the polyenes, if the number of carbon atoms increased from 3 to 4, 4 to 5, there is a redshift. So we can easily study the extent of conjugation using this spectroscopy. Then another application is the distinction in conjugated and non-conjugated compounds. So this example we have already seen. So for unconjugated, that is acetone, then methylvinate ketone, alpha beta unsaturated ketone. So we can easily distinguish between the conjugated and non-conjugated compounds. Then identification of unknown compound. So what happens? So unknown compound can be easily identified by comparing its spectrum with the known spectra. If it coincide with each other, then the two compounds must be identical. If the two spectra do not coincide, then the compound is different. Then examination of a polynuclear hydrocarbons. For example, benzene, naphthalene, they have their characteristic spectra in the UV visible region. So we can easily study the identifications of polynuclear hydrocarbons with the comparison of a known spectrum of polynuclear compounds. Then determination of configurations of geometrical isomers. So we can easily identify whether there is a cis or trans isomer. So as we have seen the steric effect, trans stilbene and cis stilbene, we can easily differentiate with the help of UV visible spectroscopy. So the discussion have already discussed here. So in trans stilbene, there is a more effective pi-pi orbital overlapping, and hence it appears in the longer wavelength. But in cis stilbene, the coplanarity is not achieved because the steric effect of two phenyl groups, then it appears in the shorter wavelength. So the lambda max value for a trans isomer is maximum compared to cis isomer. So I'm going to discuss the questions of competitive examinations. So this question has been asked in TIF or Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in 2018. So for electronic transition in organic molecules, the expected energy ordering of the transition. So they have given 4 options. So we know, so the energy required for sigma to sigma star transition is higher. So option A and B is not wrong. We can easily eliminate A and D. So comparing B and C, so N2 pi star transition requires lesser energy. Hence, the answer is C. So sigma to sigma star electronic transition requires higher energy. N2 pi star transition requires lesser energy. So another question. This is similar to the previous question. This question asked in 2010 TAFR. So which of the following transition is the highest transition in any given organic molecule? So they have given 4 options. Which transition requires higher energy? So we know sigma to sigma star transition requires higher energy. Hence the option is C. So another question. So the 0.1 molar. So this question is asked in TAFR 2010. The question may look complicated, but it is so easy. So 0.1 molar solution of a compound transmit 10% of the incident light. So the IT value is 10%. So another solution of the same compound transmit. So 1% of this 1% of incident light of the same wavelength in the same container. So they have asked us to calculate the concentration of a solution. See, for 0.1 molar solution, the transmittance is 10%. So another solution transmits 1%. So we know the Beer-Lambert law. So A is equal to log of I0 by IT is equal to epsilon into CL. See, for first example, so log of I0 by IT. So for 0.1 molar solution, the IT value is 10. So log of 100 by 10 is equal to 0.1 molar. Then for another solution, the transmittance is only 1%. So log of I0, that is 100 by 1 is equal to, so we are going to calculate the concentration of our second solution. So we can easily cancel log of 100 by 10 is a log 10 divided by log 100 is equal to 0.1 divided by x. So we have to calculate the x. This is a simple mathematics. So log 10, the value of log 10 is 1, log 100 is 2. So 0.1 into 2, 0.2 molar. So the answer is B, 0.2 molar. So another question. So a solution of complex exhibit absorption maxima. So they have given absorption maxima for 625 nanometer. They have given the concentration. They have given the absorbance value of 0.9, and they have given the path length. See, so this information has been given in the question. So for complex one, they have given concentration. They have given absorption maxima. They have also given the path length and absorbance value. So for complex 2, so they have given concentration. So the same solution will exhibit the lambda max at 625 nanometer. So they have given the path length of 0.2 centimeter. So they have asked to calculate the absorbance value. So, so we know the Beer-Lambert's law. So absorbance. Here we can easily relate with this A1, that is absorbance divided by concentration into path length is equal to, this is for another solution. So A2 divided by C2 into L2. So for complex 1, we know these informations. We know the absorbance, concentration, and path length. For the complex 2, they have given, we have to calculate the absorbance value. See, from this, you can simple multiplication 2.5 into 1.5, that is 3.75. Here also 1.5 into 0.2, 0.3 into 10 to the power minus 3. From this, we can easily calculate the value of x. Mathematical, simple mathematics. So the answer is 0.72 nanometer. So we should remember the mathematical expressions of Beer-Lambert law. From this law, we can solve so many problems. So another question asked in IIT JAM 2012. So the percent transmittance of a solution having absorbance. So in this exam, in this question, they have given absorbance value. They are asked to calculate the IT, that is a percentage of transmittance. See, they have given absorbance, that is 1, I0, that is intensity of incident light is 100, IT we have to calculate using this formula. A is equal to log of I0 by IT. So log of I0 by 80. So here you can calculate from log 100 minus log 80. From you can take anti-log. So the simple thing is you substitute the given options. See, they have given 4 options. So you substitute in for I'm going to substitute the option A. Suppose log 100 divided by IT1. So it means log 100 is equal to 2. So that is not the correct answer. Then I am going to substitute option B. So log 100 divided by 10. So you can cancel, then log 10. So log 10 is equal to 1. So they have given the absorbance value is 1. You can easily calculate with this method. Or you can take anti-log and then you can calculate the IT value. The option is B. Here I have given some absorbance to the corresponding light emittance percentage. If it is no absorbance means the IT, that is a transmitted, that is 100%. If it is no absorption has taken place, the absorbance value is 1, then IT value will be 10. If it is 2, then it will be 1. It goes on. Then another question, this is a recent question asked in PGTRB in 2019. So hypochromic shift leads to. So we have discussed the four hypochromic, hyperchromic, red shift or blue shift. So here hypo means the decrease in absorption intensity. So hence the answer is B, decreased absorption intensity. So another question asked in TRB Government Polytechnic College in 2012. So saturated compounds with the lone pair of electrons show which are the following transitions. So they have given saturated compounds. So it means only a sigma bonds, sigma compound. Then with the lone pair of electrons, there might be some hetero atoms. So the possible transition may be N2 sigma star. So N2 pi star is not possible because it is a saturated compound. If it means unsaturated means there is a pi 2 pi star transition is also possible, but they have given only saturated compound with lone pair. So only N2 sigma star transition is possible. So another question asked in TRB Government Polytechnic College in 2012, the relationship between intensity of color and the concentration of substance in the solution is given by, so this is a simplest question. So Beer-Lambert law, we should not confuse with the Lambert law. So according to Lambert law, the absorbance is directly proportional to path length. So he didn't discuss any concentration term there. So Beer-Lambert law is the correct option. So this is another PGTRB questions. So high energy transition occurred. So as I said earlier, energy is inversely proportional to wavelength. So high energy means shorter wavelength. So hence the answer is B, shorter wavelength. So this is a PGDRB question asked in 2003. So oxochromes groups which have. So we have discussed chromophore and oxochromes. The definition of oxochromes, it is a functional group. When it is attached to chromophore, it alters the lambda max and intensity of position. And also it does not itself absorb any radiation. These 2 points are very important. So hence the answer is option B, influence the absorbing group. So we should not confuse with option A. So absorption in UV region. It does not absorb itself. It will enhance the lambda max value in the presence of F chromophore. And also it does not directly give any color. So chromophore is responsible for the color of a compound. So another example, this is similar to TIFR questions. The energy of the electronic transitions. This is asked in TRV. So correct answer is D. That is sigma to sigma star transition requires higher energy. N2 pi star transition requires lesser energy. So this is CSIR June 2011 question. So the absorption at lambda max 279 nanometer in the UV spectrum of acetone. So this example we have discussed in the conjugated and non-conjugated section. So that is due to carbonyl compounds normally exhibit N2 pi star transition. Hence answer is B. So question number. So this question asked in December 2012 CSIR exam. So appropriate reasons for the deviation of from the Beer law. So this is the deviation of Beer-Lambert law. Once again, I'm telling. So where the deviation takes place, if it is polychromatic and if the solution is high concentration, if there is any scattering of light, or if there is any change in refractive index of the solution, or there is any fluorescence or phosphorescence or any keto-inert automerism is there, then association or dissociation of analyte. So if any point is there, then there will be a deviation of Beer-Lambert law. So coming to the options, there's a monochromaticity of light. So it is not correct, because if it is polychromatic means then deviation will occur. Then association of analyte, it is there, very high concentration, dissociation. So answer is option B, C, D, B. That is both association of analyte, very high concentration of analyte, dissociation of analyte. Then there will be a deviation of Beer-Lambert's law. The same question, similar type of question asked in December 2014. So which of the following will result in deviation from Beer's law? Here, so the same point is here, you can easily identify. So change in refractive index of medium, yeah, it is there, and dissociation, it is there, then polychromatic light, deviation will be there. So consider the D, so path length of a cuvette. So it does not do any deviation here. So it is directly proportional to the absorbance, but it does not deal with any deviation of a Beer-Lambert's law. Hence, the answer is A. Question number 15. So, which of the following absorption is shown by 1,3-butadiene in its UV spectrum recorded in N-hexane in non-polar? So, we have discussed earlier ethylene for 1,3-butadiene or 1,3-hexadiene. As the conjugation increases, the lambda max value will also increase. For 1,3-butadiene, the value is 270 nanometer. The epsilon max, that is absorption coefficient, is 21,000. So, correct answer is option A. So, UV radiation, is it harmful? So, they have a shorter wavelength and hence they have greater energy. That is why ultraviolet radiation from the sun burns us. Some sunscreen lotions are there. It contains UV absorbing compounds that prevent this radiation from reaching our skin. So there is a SPF, that is a sun protection factor is there. It is a direct measure of how well the sunscreen lotion absorbs the UV radiation. See, so as I said earlier, UVC radiation, it has been absorbed in the stratosphere itself by ozone molecule. Then UVB and UVA radiation reaches the Earth's atmosphere. Then our skin consists of 3 layers, that is epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. So UV radiation treats some rickets, psoriasis, eczema, jaundice, and it will also harmful effect also there. So see, this is SPF 15. Here, no sunscreen lotion is applied. So if it is 100 photons, means 100 photons enter into the skin. If it is SPF 15, that is a factor. So if it is 93% of protection, then only 7 photons enter in the skin. If it is 97 protection, then only 3 photons enter into the skin. So then the another important thing is when we are discussing the visible region. So how do we see colors? So the visible region is a region of wavelengths that can be visualized by naked human eye. So that is where the light appears as different colors depending on the wavelength. So when a white light, that is a polychromatic light, passes through an object, so the object absorbs some amount of wavelength and leaving the unabsorbed wavelengths to be transmitted. These residual transmitted wavelengths are seen as a color that is complementary to the absorbed color. See, so this is the absorbed color, that is a transmitted complement color. If an object absorbs, that is blue color, then it appears as yellow. If the object absorbs orange, then it appears as green, blue. So this is a complementary color. So this is color wheel. See, if the object is green in color, then it might be absorbed the red color. If the object is blue in color, then it might be absorbed orange. That is a complementary color. So in the case of white light, so all the colors are reflected, nothing is absorbed by the object. But in the case of black color, all the colors absorbed by the object, nothing is reflected. So that is why black color shirts burns more than white color. In black color, all the colors will be absorbed, nothing is reflected. But in the case of white, nothing is absorbed, everything will be reflected. So based on my presentations, I have created a free online test. So it consists of 15 questions as we have discussed in my presentations. So the 15 questions I have discussed in my presentation, the asked in CSIR GATE, IIT JAM, TAFR and PGTRB examinations. So I have limited the time, that is 20 minutes. You can log on to www.testmoz, that is testmoz.com/3156450. This is a free online test. You can log on to this link and appear for the exam. Then you may check whether the learning outcomes is achieved. So if you enter this website, it appears like this. In a student login, you must enter your email ID, then start. The exam will start. The time also will be 20 minutes. At the end of the exam, you will see your score. That is readily available. So these are all the references of my presentation. Organic spectroscopy principle and applications by Jagmohan and spectroscopy of organic compounds by P.S. Kalsi. I have taken some notes from EPG Pathsala, that is a nature of electronic transition and factors affecting module. So I have to acknowledge sincerely the management of Annai College of Arts and Science Kumbakonam, and also I thank the principal madam, Dr. S.P. Monica Vasugi madam, and the convener, Dr. Thirumulan sir, for the opportunity given to me. And I also thank our management and principal, Vivekananda College, Thiruvedagam West, Madurai, for the opportunity given to me. And I also thank all the participants for their patience listening, in spite of the busy schedule, and there might be some technical issues are there. I hope this session is useful to you. So thank you, one and all. Stay home and stay safe. I hope this is a difficult time for us. So sitting inside the home, it is too difficult. So I hope everything will be all right very soon. I thank all the participants, and I thank the organizing committee, and I thank management of Annai College of Arts and Science, and I thank my management, Vivekananda College, and also thank principal. Thank you one and all. If you have any queries or any doubts, you can mail me. You can reach me at rajkkim@gmail.com, or you can send any queries to my WhatsApp number. Thank you.